Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video letting you all know that I was finally able to submit the animal behavior kit to Epic Games. I did that yesterday and now is under review. Usually Epic takes about 2 to 3 weeks to review blueprint projects. This may take a little longer since it's such a big project, but hopefully, within 2 weeks, I get the confirmation from them and I can finally release it in the marketplace. I am so excited to finally be able to release this project and have you guys play around with it and let me know what you think. It's been a long, long time coming, but I am really happy with the end result. Along the way, I got so many comments and feedback, and I was able to implement a lot of features based on the feedback from you guys. The same thing is happening with the foliage tool. The same thing happened with the arcade space shooter template. So I do read all of the comments in the video. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to please let me know. If it's something that I think will be relatively simple to add or something that will be a really, really nice feature, I do take these suggestions very seriously. So within the next 2 weeks, I'm going to continue testing the kit, and maybe I'll add a bit more polish since we do have the ability to update the kit one more time before actually publishing it in the marketplace. Um, and on that note, I wanted to give you guys a super sneak preview on a new feature actually that was suggested by a user on the Discord server. He or she said, "Hey, it would be really cool if ABK had some kind of decay system or decomposition system." His comment was, I'm gonna assume it's a he, that he hasn't seen any AI, any system out there that had, um, you know, animals or NPCs or whatever decay when they die. They just kind of despawn. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, you know what? That actually would be really interesting to add. Uh, and I did some investigation and I decided to actually kind of work on it. Even though what I have right now, what I'm about to show you, is pretty simplistic, the main idea is still there and there's a lot of room for improvement. So thank you for the suggestion. Uh, I think this is actually pretty good. And I've worked on it yesterday and today. And I think I'd like to give you guys a quick preview. So basically, just like everything else in ABK, a lot of these systems are modular. So I have a brand new component called Component Decay Corpse. And you have the option of having it active or not. You need to specify which animal corpse class this will spawn, and in this case, it is a child blueprint of the base animal corpse blueprint here, and you'll see why in a minute. But the base blueprint has all of the custom events to create the different decay phases, and have specific durations. And then the child blueprint in this case has several custom events. You can see them, things like state started, state ended, and decay ended. These three that you can override to add custom code depending on what you want to do in your game, right? So that's a really nice way of giving you guys a lot of flexibility. And because it is an actor blueprint, you can add as much code and as much customization as you want because it's a completely separate individual blueprint that is spawned in the world. You won't be messing up the animal AI in any way. And because I am giving you a master class, you can create a child and you can do whatever you want. But I figured the main idea here is you can create several different phases or states of decay when your animal dies, right? And I wanted to give you guys the option of creating as many states as you wanted for your game. So you can see here that we have an array of structs per states, right? And in this case, in this example, I have 3 different states, right? But you can add as many as you want. And you can specify how long the state lasts, what actual actor will spawn for that specific state, if there's a transition particle, I was talking to a couple of fellow devs on Discord, and they mentioned the game Skyrim. If you guys have played it, when the dragon dies, the transition between the regular mesh and kind of the bones has like this little fiery effect, and that tends to be used to mask the transition between meshes. So you have the ability to have a transition particle system play, and then how long will that transition last? You can then do a ground offset if you want for that actor, and you actually even have the option of aligning that actor to the ground. So if in your game your animals are actually when they die they ragdoll, they may actually go down tumbling down a hill or do something. So you may want to spawn these actors aligned to the ground to kind of match that slope. uh, and again, these actor VPs are super simple. uh, in this example that I have is literally just a static mesh component, and you can see here I have poorly drawn bones that I did in Blender. But again, because they're actor blueprints, you can do anything you want. You're spawning an actor blueprint as the state of decay. So you can have a static mesh, obviously. You could have a skeletal mesh if you want to get fancier. You could have particle effects. You could have triggers. You could have a bunch of different things. So even though the system is very, very simple, it gives you a lot of flexibility. So without further ado, you can create the different states, and at the end of the day, you can decide whether you want to despawn the last state or not. So let's just quickly see what that looks like. So right now I have this doe, and I'm going to go ahead and kill the doe. And the doe is set to die and ragdoll for 10 seconds and then despawn. That's the regular behavior. But if you add this additional component, you see that now the first state of decay, which is this bone, like the ribs pop up, and then the transitional hearts popped up, and now you can see that the decay state number 2 just popped in for another 10 seconds, and in about a few more seconds you'll see, there you go, state number 3 started, and then that's another 10 seconds, and then it will despawn, and it should do that. There you go. And you can see on the top left corner those messages saying, hey, state 1 started, state 2 started. And again, that is the custom events that you can override. In this case, all I'm doing is printing, and it'll pass an index which corresponds to the state ID, right, in the array. So in this case, the very first state is state 0. So you can then use something like this and say, well, I'm going to override every time the state starts, I want to do something. Or you could say, well, if state index is 0, meaning the first one, I want to do this. Or if state is index 1, I want to do that. So you could do even a switch statement here and do custom behavior per different states on the blueprint. And again, you have the option of having the duration here and whether you even want particles. If I want to take the particles out, because that looks kind of silly, just to show you guys a little bit better the transition here, I'm going to make this 10 seconds. Yeah, they're all 10 seconds. And let's show you guys the alignment. And in that case, they're all going to be aligning to the floor. So I have this plane here, and I don't want the last stage to despawn. I want it to remain in the world. So I come here, let me shoot the doe, and it ragdolls, it goes down a little bit the slope, and 10 seconds later it despawns, but then the corpse system begins, and you can see here that we have the initial one, which is kind of like the more complete rib model. And then you can see that the second state, which is state 1 started, is called and the mesh is replaced. And then in just a second here, you'll see the third stage. There you go, stage 2, which is really the third stage, starts. And then when it ends, the other custom event, Decay ended, fires. As you can see there, Decay ended. And in this case, it just doesn't despawn. You actually get to keep this mesh, or this actor rather, in your world permanently. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's fairly simple, but it gets the point across, and you can see my the equivalent of programmer art, what I did in Blender just to simulate some bones. Obviously, real artists that are actually talented can make models for corpses that look, with entrails coming out and actual decomposition, right? And you can get really fancy here. And again, because of the way that I've set up the system, you are spawning individual actor blueprints, which give you a lot of flexibility into what you want to do in those decay states. Maybe you want to gather something, right? If you're thinking about an RPG, maybe state of decay 1 and 2, you'll be able to harvest skins from the animal. But maybe if it gets to stage 3, then it's too decomposed and you can't gather it anymore, right? So all those possibilities now open up once you kill the animal. If you want to do something like skinning with this system. Um, so as you can see here, the main functionality is pretty much done. I'll probably, next step would be to make sure that it works properly in multiplayer and maybe add a bit more polish. But this is obviously coming with the initial release of ABK. It's just one more little feature that I wanted to add in there as Epic is taking its time looking at ABK. So hope you guys like what I'm showing you here. Again, super excited that ABK is finally submitted. So again, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thanks a lot.